My name is William Spear. I live here in Tampa, Florida. I'm originally from Southern California, but I moved here, went out to a small private Christian college, met a girl, married her, and stayed in Florida. That's me.
What do you want to hold on to forever?
Wow. What do I want to hold on to forever? Okay. I'm going to think. This is a long time. Okay. What do I want to hold on to forever? For me, it's going to be, in essence, God's word. That's what's guided me where I am. That's what I believe is how God communicates with me, and it's what created me. So that's what I'm going to want forever, right? And when I cling to that in this life, I believe that it will be with me forever, and that's kind of been what I've dedicated my life to in ministry, and sharing that with other people. So if there's one thing I could have forever, yeah, it would be God's word, His way He communicates with me, and hopefully in a way that I can communicate with Him as well by learning it and learning more about Him. But God's word.
Beautiful. That's some serious poetry. Okay. When would you have liked the second chance?
When would I have liked a second chance? I think, man, that's hard. A second chance. Hmm. I'll say when I was going to school, I I just thought that I needed to take the path of least resistance, and for me, that was business. I like business, and it was easy, and it seemed like if this was an easy thing to do, then that would keep leading me to easy opportunities. But I later learned that easy isn't necessarily better, and I found myself after school with a very businessy corporate type of job, and it wasn't what I wanted. And the way that I got there was just through this path of least resistance. But a second chance, I think I would have taken a path with more resistance that would have led me somewhere else I would have rather ended up. Slowly, I'm getting where I'd rather be, by learning more and reading more about scriptures and history and things that are harder to learn about and maybe more intimidating. But I wish I would have done that sooner instead of waiting until I ended up somewhere that I didn't want to be. I wish I would have started sooner in that path with more resistance because it usually leads you somewhere better.
Yeah, that's a great answer. What challenges inspired your resilience and what challenges inspired moments of creativity? Could be the same.
Moments that inspired resiliency, moments that inspired creativity,
Yeah.
resiliency. Okay, moment that inspired resiliency. We'll learn way into the depths of will here. When I was a kid, I was a teenager. I was 14 years old. I was diagnosed with a brain malformation called a Chiari malformation. And at the time, it made sense because there's so many things that were really hard for me. Like, just your hand eye coordination is greatly affected by this malformation. And I was struggling in that area. And so when I got this diagnosis, like it made sense and it sounded cool. Like, all right, I'm going to have brain surgery. We're going to fix this. Then a year later, it seemed like I was better and I was good and it was going to be behind me. And I get the diagnosis that the same malformation, to the surgeon's surprise, has kind of resurfaced and the same block is happening again. Something that made sense to me originally because it, was going to fix this problem that I didn't like, now happened again a second time, just a year later. And being just 15 years old, there's so many things I wanted to do. As a kid, you're a teenager. I thought that I was about to get to access those things. But then I learned resiliency instead. And to climb all the way back that year between brain surgeries, I thought that was resiliency. But then to have that, rug taken out from underneath you one more time when you already thought you were pretty resilient, I became much more resilient after that second diagnosis. So just when you think that you've accomplished a journey or made it to where you're supposed to be, for me in that case, not even halfway to the goal yet. And so now I look back on what I thought once was a resilient will, now much more resilient, having had that happen again. So that definitely brought on resiliency by force. I had to make it through, and here I am today, and I'm much better for it. Moments that, let's see here, created creativity, I'm not sure. That resilient one was easy. The creativity is maybe just a little bit more abstract. Hmm. I would say when I started to pursue ministry and having to, create lessons and create teaching for people is a big, big deal. And many, many people are aware of basic teachings of the Bible, have heard sermons, and get bored quickly. And for me to present the Bible, the Word of God that we've already established is really important to me in a creative way was a big responsibility, not just something that sounded fun, but a big responsibility to convey the word truthfully as well as interestingly and applicable to people's lives. And so, by necessity, again, I had to find a way to be creative in this vocation that was really, really important to me. And since doing that, since starting that journey, I found myself to be much more creative in ways that I can present very, very important information. That's important to me.
What are illusions in your life?
Illusions. Immediately, I say an illusion in my life is control. There's a part of me that feels pretty good at planning, pretty good at doing the right thing. And because of that, I feel like I deserve control in my life. If I do those things right, then I should have control over just about everything. And that's just completely an illusion and wishful thinking, like I'm owed something by planning or doing what I think is the right thing. And then when you learn very quickly that nope, there are things way out of your control that have nothing to do with will, whether or not you did the right thing, whether or not you planned correctly. Time and chance happen to them all, is what the Bible says. And I've learned that to be true. And it's something that many, many people desire to have control, make things go the way they want them to. And as I work toward that, like I come close, I kind of feel like I have control. I'm like, oh, maybe this is attainable. And then you learn typically the hard way. No, it is not. Control is an illusion.
What have you reassessed in your life and what have you decided to do different?
Reassess. What have I reassessed in my life and decided to do differently? Um, hmm. Oh man, we'll keep going deep then. That seems to be the theme of these questions. Uh,
Yeah, it's
rec- yeah, recently something I'm reassessing is the way that I pray, and being a big believer, being convicted, really means that you should be having a personal relationship with God and communication. I think in our culture, there's not a lot of meditating, not a lot of people who believe in the power of prayer, and it makes it a harder thing to pursue. There's not a lot of boredom, there's not a lot of downtime in our culture. And so, even for a very convicted believer like myself, I found not a lot of time praying, which doesn't make any sense if I believe that there's someone who listens to me and an advocate who speaks to the Father for me. Why am I not praying more? So it's something that I'm reassessing in a lot, and it's a really deep dive into my heart and my faith. Hey, if you really believe this, then you should be pursuing a prayer life. So that's what I'm reassessing and trying to do better at. It's fresh, so I don't have a whole lot of results yet, but I am prayerful that I'm going to. That's what I'm reassessing.
It's beautiful. What deflates you and what gives you hope?
What deflates me and what gives me hope? Okay, what deflates me? I think yeah, similar themes what we've been talking about. Something that deflates me is seeing others miss the mark, especially those that I looked up to, and people who know what is good, people who have taught me the truth, people who have been my role models in life. It's easy to put a lot of weight into that for good reason. It's good to have role models, but then you see those people that you looked up to so much fall short, and that's deflating. One, for their sake, to see someone mess up is just you hate it. But then for someone who you held in such high esteem, you think, well, if they fell short in this thing, then certainly will is bound to follow suit. And that's deflating, where you start thinking, well, what's the point if person A that I look up to so much fell short, then why am I even trying? Because I'm just will, and that's gonna deflate me. Similarly, not to put people in too many different classes, but to see someone who you would not quite expect to do the right thing, to see an unlikely hero, someone who you see someone turn their life around, right? At our congregation, you'll see someone who's interested in learning about the truth. They're straight off the streets of homelessness, crippled by addictions, and we can say that we're hopeful that they'll be receptive to the truth and turn their life around, but it seems really unlikely. But then you see a person you see them put aside this addiction that's ruined their life up to this point. You see someone who does not look like a dedicated person change everything,
Yeah.
and you think, wow, okay, this is something that can be done. A life can be made right. Anyone can choose to do the right thing. Anyone can find Christ in their life, put away addictions, and put on good works. And seeing that from unlikely people that you just would not expect that from, to see someone turn that life around is super hopeful to me. To know, even if I'm the one who falls into whatever sin, whatever bad way of living, there's hope. There's hope.
How have you evolved and how have you not evolved?
Mm. How have I evolved? Okay, initially, what I'd like to say that I think is true is objectivity. I think it's easy to be raised with a certain set of standards, a certain set of rules that kind of give your life control and guidelines. And plenty of people, even when presented with clear evidence that what they were taught is wrong, will still cling to that. This is what I was raised on. That's it, no matter what. They're completely biased. And it's easy to be tempted by that, especially raised in the church like I was. It's easy to be like, I'm sticking to this no matter what. If there's even a hint of something that's going to take away from that, I don't want it. I don't want to be objective. And leaving home, having to do life on my own, having to find my own faith has led to objectivity. And in that, you're going to find a lot of things that you were raised on were good and great. You're not just repudiating what you were taught for the sake of repudiation. You can be objective and be like, okay, mom and dad, they were right about that. That's awesome. And you can also find, wait a second, I think this is different than what I was taught. I think this needs tweaked. This needs changed completely. And finding that in my own life requires objectivity. And that's something that's very needed, and maybe a younger version of myself didn't have. So I've definitely evolved into that objective person that I think would only grow. I think objectivity just breeds more objectiveness. So that's a way I'd really like to say that I've evolved and will continue to evolve. A place I've been stagnant and have not evolved. I would say my interests, which I'm gonna spin this as a good thing. I think a lot of people have interests or like obsessions that are like, this is the thing, and then they switch over to this thing really quickly, or this team and bandwagon over to that team, this band and bandwagon over to that band. Not me. I've been pretty pretty straightforward on my interests throughout my whole life. I love baseball and the Dodgers, and growing up as a kid, I loved to play baseball. Now, as an adult, on the weekends, I'll be umpiring baseball, and I just love being on the baseball field. And even though I'm 24, I still feel the same excitement when I step on that infield dirt as I did when I was 12. I've loved the word my whole life, and now I'm pursuing it and preaching and giving that to others and trying to teach in that way, something that I was raised on. Now, as a grown adult, I still love that thing. So it's simple things in life that I was raised on and loved, and now as an adult, I'm able to pursue them even more with equal excitement. So I've not evolved much at all, my passions and interests, but I'm happy about it.
What do you wish you knew earlier in life? And what have you learned now that you could never have learned at a younger age?
What I wish I'd learned earlier in life. Okay. I think I'll go back to, well, I'll change it a little bit. I think I wish I would have been really, really emphasized in my life. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's even in the frames behind me, just depicted artistically where Jesus talks about like, what are you worrying for? Like God takes care of the birds of the air, he clothes the lilies of the field. Like, how much of more value are you than they? Don't worry. And there's so many times in the Bible that's emphasized. Yet in my own life growing up, I felt like other things were emphasized more. Important things. But what was really tempting to me and still is worry because I want to control things. I want things to go the way I want them to go. I'm scared of things not going the way I want them to go. And that equals worry. And besides that being an example of a lack of faith, it's also kind of a miserable way to live to just not be able to sleep, to waste your time that could be on productivity, on nothing, just thinking about things that make you upset. And now this upsetting thing has taken up even more of your life by worrying about it. There's some things in life that I was taught young, just really emphasize: don't do drugs. Right? It's like Red Ribbon Week, which is awesome and great and fantastic. I think after Red Ribbon Week, there should have been a similar enthusiastic call of don't worry, don't worry. I've seen that eat up a lot of people my age, a lot of people all over the different demographics. I wish it would have been emphasized to me as a kid. Don't worry. I wish I would have taught that younger. The second part of the question is something that I couldn't have learned.
Yeah, like you learned it now, but you could have never have learned that at a younger age.
Oh. I learn now, but I could have never learned at a younger age. I think just there's a lot of stuff you can learn young, but maybe not the depth of it. So I think I wish. So now I think I understand better the depth of love. I'm not even a parent yet, but I am married, and just knowing the depth of love, what creates a love story, what makes two people start a life together, become one. Uh, when you're a kid, you just are born into mom and dad, right? And they're just the people who are in charge of you and take you to school. But now going through my own love story, that's awesome and great and powerful. Knowing that that's kind of what keeps the human race going and makes people. You don't. It's easy to lose the value of that love. You just think of people as people and someone else's family, someone else's kid. That's mom and dad. Instead of thinking about how powerful love is and what that means that everyone has that story. They either came from a love story or they're in their own love story. How powerful that is. As a kid, you're kind of taught that and told that through like cartoons and movies, but you don't understand it until you live it. And that's been a really powerful thing to me. And I'll add on to the hope question. That gives me hope too. Is even on a bad day, I come home to my wife, and it doesn't matter how bad the day is. It was an awesome day because I came home to her. So I could have never learned that just being a kid or someone telling me about that. But now that I've lived it, I've learned it.
What? Oh, what early life experiences make it difficult to see what is possible now?
Huh. Early life experiences make it difficult to see what's possible now.
It was originally phrased differently. It was originally phrased, what early life experiences limit your ability to see what is possible now, if that helps. It changed.
Yeah. Okay. I think that makes more sense to me. Limit what I'm able to see now, what I'm able to accomplish now. What was the last part?
To see what's possible, but to accomplish either else, that also works. I'm going to change the wording to the
Yeah. Okay. An early life experience. Hold on. I'm gonna find something. Can I use a pass? I'm not
yeah,
finding it.
absolutely no problem. What mistakes do you make over and over again?
What mistakes do I make over and over again? I gotta say worry. What mistakes do I make over and over again? Worry, because every time I worry, it typically leads me down a path of more worry. And it's this weird addiction of wanting to control, wanting to overthink, wanting to figure things out on my own. And once you can unlearn that, then it'll kind of unravel and you can live without it. But as soon as you get into a habit of having to worry about something before doing it, now when you look at your to-do list for the day, subconsciously or consciously, your brain is going to add worry, worry before you can do this. And again, I understand it's very clear. Do not worry. It's bad. It's not good. Don't do it. And I still fall victim. And I hate that. But it keeps happening. So hopefully I'll get better. But for right now, that's the one that keeps getting old Will.
Yeah. It's interesting when I ask these questions, themes come up throughout the questions. I could hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear it. It's interesting. When do you take a metaphorical bow?
Nice. Nice. A metaphorical bow. Hmm. A metaphorical bow. Because I really like that phrase. That's cool. But like you're like thinking it like in your head, but you can't actually um, a metaphorical. Yeah, I feel like whatever answer I come up with is going to come across like prideful of like something cool that I did. Um,
That's what I'm trying to get. That's what I'm trying to get at. Because the questions are like a wave, you know? This is to take
yeah.
up, oh, the positive. Yeah.
Hmm. Right. Okay. I think I'll say this, and we'll get on a different side of the map. I mentioned that I love to umpire baseball games, and it is all the time talked about how brutal of a job that is because parents and people just kind of just suck in general and want to take things out on you. And I enjoy that battle between an unlikable authority versus the super hard job, and people are going to be upset about it. And I take that time to dig in deeper, do a better job. Whereas a lot of umpires take it to just be prideful, do bad on purpose, or get into yelling matches. They do. You can easily find it on the internet, people doing it bad on purpose. I take it as a job, like, hey, no matter how rude you're being about this youth baseball game, no matter how wrong you are about the rules of your own game that you're blaming me for, you just don't know them. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do my best and I'm going to dig in. And then after that, the game is over, the final call, it's done. And there's this part of me that feels accomplished. Now, unfortunately, umpires don't literally bow, but there's a part of me that wants to. And so I think I'll turn, look at the fans, and they'll see that Will worked hard and that Will did a good job. And there's a sort of eye contact that gives this metaphorical bow of thank you very much. And that's the game.
It's so beautiful. That's great.
That's
Love it.
fun.
What smell brings you back to a special moment in your past?
Oh, nice. I think you told me about this one. I was hoping you'd ask it. Oh man, this is so basic, but a smell that brings me back to a particular moment in my past is paint. Actually, it's paint. In 2010, probably, so I was about a 10-year-old kid. My family went through this whole process of redoing the house, mainly repainting it, and it was this big to do, right? To paint the whole house, we had to like move our stuff out, move back in. It took longer than you thought it would. And as a kid, you're like, it's fine. What are we doing? But to mom and dad, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. They're like, hey, like we need to redo all that stuff. And we were like, do we really? And we did anyway. And it became this really cool time for us because we even like stayed a night in the hotel so that the painters could like let the paint do its thing, and then it became a sort of fun adventure for our family. And then we came back, and then the house with just one new coat of paint felt like a completely new house to us. This house
Oh,
that I was raised in, this house that, had been the same my whole life. Now with just a fresh coat of paint, you walk in, you smell it, and you're like, whoa, what is this? This is new. And of course, we timed that just in time to like host all of our family for Christmas. So then for Christmas, like it smelled like paint, but in like the best ways. Like as a kid, it's like fresh, new start of this, new painted house, new place to live, hosting people for a holiday in it. And like when I smell paint now, I think about like redoing the house, new beginnings, and just being happy as a kid. Even when I wasn't expecting to, it turned out to be awesome, and I loved it.
what story do you want to be remembered by?
What story do I want to be remembered by? Like one that already exists that I've done, or like something that could happen?
Either way.
I think I would just want to be remembered as a servant, and I would want to always be pure in my motivations for serving. But if there was, like, there are cases in everyone's lives where like they've done something pretty selfless that just nobody gets to see, which is the point of selflessness. But it would be really cool to be remembered by like thinking about a funeral, and then like open mic, someone comes like, hey, nobody knows this, but this one time Will put everything aside and helped me with this thing. uh like there's just no better way of being remembered. There's just a lot of busyness, a lot of selfishness going on that's just easy to fall victim to, and people are remembered for their accomplishments, what they did for themselves, how much money they died with in the bank, how many toys they had. But I'd much rather be remembered for putting my own stuff aside, serving someone else. So not that I'm going to go out and do these crazy acts now for someone to hopefully say it at my funeral. But if there's a story to be remembered by, it'd be really cool. Like Will served me. That would be what I'd want to be remembered for.
When did you start needing outside input to validate your inner experience?
Oh man, as soon as I as soon as I could talk, that's a problem. Yeah, as pretty much as soon as there was positive reinforcement for something to be done, I clung to that, and maybe it's another thing that needs to be worked on, because it's easy to want that, and just like I was saying, your motivation for doing something good should not be the positive reinforcement, but it's easy to want it. It's easy to want it on big scales, and even on really small scales, where I'm just really hoping that my wife noticed that I vacuumed. And if it hasn't gotten to the point where it'd be noticeable, then I probably won't vacuum because I want it to be obvious enough that I vacuumed, where she'd be like, "You vacuumed," and I'm like, "Don't mention it." When I really wanted her to mention it. So that's a problem for sure. So as soon as I was consciously aware that that was an option, I I wanted that from a young age.
Cool. This one's a tough one. What depths have you descended to, and how did you bounce back?
Nice, nice. What depths have I descended to? How did I bounce back? I think I'll go to loneliness. Um, Being a kid in high school, because of my health issues, with my brain surgeries that I had, I did independent study in high school, which was really cool and awesome. But when my brother, who's older than me, moved out, all of a sudden I was like, oh man, like there goes my only friend. And that loneliness became really hard. Loneliness leads to lots of bad habits, and lots of self deprecation. I'm lonely for a reason. I'm never going to find community, find a partner. And even though I was just young, 17, 18-year-old kid, at those moments in time, it feels forever. And especially when you allow loneliness to lead to bad habits, now you're descending actively and exponentially. And you think, well, if I ended up making this mistake and further isolating myself because I felt lonely, then now it's only going to get worse forever. And so to see myself climb out of that, I moved from Southern California to Florida to a school I always wanted to go to. And when I moved there, I felt like that was the leap. I was like, oh, I did it. I'm not lonely anymore. There's people around me. But then I quickly learned people around you does not mean that you're not lonely anymore. So then this huge trip across the country that I thought was going to be the huge moment for Will conquering loneliness and needing community was not the answer. It wasn't just being there. I had to do more than just have people around me. So then going from an isolated, awkward kid to now pouring into your community and trying to be vulnerable and trying to meet people. And now I've found a sense of community. Now I've found people. Now I'm not lonely. And then I saw humbly lots of people like being my friend. That was a cool feeling because it wasn't too long ago where I thought I could never get one friend or two friends. And then now all of a sudden I've got a community. I've got a whole school that likes me, a whole school that I like myself. And now I've got this really cool ascension into popularity and community that was previously this really dark place of isolation and loneliness. And it happened pretty quick, just a couple of years between those two, low points and high points. So that was a good one for me, going from those 2 points.
What decisions did you make in your life that served you in the past that no longer serve you?
Mm-hmm. Certainly in the past that no longer serve me. Man, I'm not sure. I think I just like to think that everything I've done like accumulates to like one great product, but I know that's not true. I'm trying to think of what it would be. I don't know. Give me another pass. I'm not
Yeah.
thinking of that one.
What tiny change had a major impact?
Tiny change had a major impact. Tiny change had a major impact. Nice. I was always self-conscious of my smile. I didn't think it looked good. I was upset about it. And my response was to not let people see me smile. If I am going to smile, it's going to be a soft smile, but not much more than that. Not much more than that. And to me, that was just self defense for something I was self conscious of. And that was it. But instead, it ends up really affecting a lot. There's a lot that could be done with a smile to convey to other people who you are, your attitude, your friendliness, and then for yourself, your own positive attitude that just kind of takes on the physical appearance of a smile. And eventually, I realized, hey, I'm gonna try. It'll be okay. And I took a picture at the Grand Canyon with my teeth, and I smiled. And I saw the picture, and I didn't hate it. I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe people aren't zooming in on your teeth that aren't perfect. Maybe people aren't that interested in what you actually look like. Maybe there's a better attitude that could be conveyed here, positivity and excitement and smiling. And then when I was no longer self conscious to smile, I think I conveyed an attitude that was excited and happy to be living, and people cling to that. And I followed that physical appearance. It was a really small thing going from this to this, but a lot of good things came from it. And it was just a small change, but a lot of good came from
Yeah. What wave took you for a ride?
it. what wave? What wave took me for a ride? Like that I wasn't expecting? Maybe, yeah. So you try not to like get me stuck, and it's like I want to have more parameters, so it makes it hard. What wave took me for a ride? I'll say this. When I originally moved to Florida after school, so I'd completed school and I'd come back to Florida where I went to school, I did not have a lot of income. And the income that I did have kind of went away because it was a terrible job and I quit. And I was like, well, now what do I do? What do I do now? And I was just trying everything that I could. And I couldn't even list all the things that I tried quickly because they were so fleeting. One of the things that I did try was just setting up an account on a website that offered lessons to people virtually or remotely. And I was like, I've got something good to offer here. I'm very good at a certain skill. I can offer that certain skill and I can teach it well. I'm going to really try this. And I did. And as soon as I finished setting it up, I was like, that's such a waste of time. Why did I do that? Why did I even waste the hour that it took to set that up? That was such a waste of time. And I just kind of closed my computer and didn't think about it again. And then a client came and I just kind of acted like I knew what I was doing. And then I get a really good review. And then another client gives me a good review. And then slowly but surely, this small wave kind of kept getting bigger to where it got to the point where I couldn't even sustain it. Like I had to tell people no. I was like, I didn't even know how this would happen, but no, I don't have time for you. My schedule is full. And it was a good lesson on me to try things because it's one of my favorite things about my life right now is that I offer these lessons and I meet people across the country, around the world, even of people who have the same interest as I do. And I get to meet them, teach them, and they teach me a lot of stuff too. So I would have never thought that it would amount to anything. And now it's one of my coolest things about me. It took me for a ride.
Wow. It's a why that's a ride you created. You created. It's kind of I love the way you
You had to
answered it.
jump on. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What do you never want to forget and what have you tried to forget?
Do I never want to forget? Well, let me start with the second part because that just jumped out to me quicker. Uh, Growing up in a household that argued sometimes, and just every household does, and no dog on where I came from. But just the being a kid in a household where you want things to be perfect, seeing those imperfections and kind of realizing that for the first time as you're growing up is really hard. And I think seeing times where a role model faltered or a love that looked perfect fell short are things that are very true about life and happen. But for me, I want to forget because I hate that. I hate that happened in my own home. And so those memories are important. They're real. But if I could choose, I would just be able to forget all of them because I hate them. Something that I never want to forget. Let's talk about something happy. Something I never want to forget. That feeling and that motivation of first being in love.
Oh,
It's so easy to just lose that because life gets monotonous, life goes in cycles, and you take this awesome thing that you have for granted. And so being married at a young age and having this awesome love that surprised me and took off, I want to harness that feeling and not let it go because the effects of that selflessness and fun and good things for each other as well as the people around you automatically going to happen that good things happen around you. But instead a lot of people lose that feeling, focus on the negativity, focus on the bad about the person, focus on what this person can do for me but not what I can do for them. As when you once had this awesome thing of two parties serving each other selflessly because of that feeling of love and I just love this person, a lot of people lose that way too quickly and it leads to pretty miserable lives, I think. And I don't want to ever lose that feeling because I know it's a good feeling for me and for everyone around me.
when has your inner experience eluded your understanding?
And has my inner experience diluted my
Sorry,
understanding.
eluded your understanding.
Oh, like helped it,
Um,
eluded. Like evaded it.
Not necessarily. This is a conversation we had the other day about revolted and revulsion, right? Like
Oh, right. Yeah, I gotta get my
like
dictionary in here.
eluded's like it just not necessarily good or bad. It just you're trying to understand the inner experience, but it's not revealing itself in words
Okay,
or
okay.
concepts.
Then give the whole thing to me one more time.
Yeah, you bet. When has your inner experience eluded your understanding?
Man, I don't know. Give me a pass. I don't know.
Yeah. Uh-huh. When has history repeated itself in your life?
Okay. History repeats itself in my. Well, we'll stay simple for this one. I would just say uh, being late, where just to my surprise, I'll have a day that starts a little bit late. I take too long getting up, and then a place I need to be in the morning, I miss it by 6 minutes, and I'm like so upset. I'm like, why did I hit snooze one more time? Now I'm late. I look dumb. My whole day is on this bad start because I hit snooze one more time. And then lo and behold, the next morning, that alarm hits, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely snooze. Man, this cannot end badly for me, right? And then the exact same thing happens literally just a day later. Literally just a day later. A small thing, we're just talking about 6 minutes here, but it ends up affecting like your whole day, your reputation. And I think, man, I was willing to do that whole bad day again for one snooze. Why did I do that? The history repeats itself like that for me a lot, too much.
What are the footprints that show you what life was like during the years you don't remember?
Nice, nice. Don't remember, but the footprints show me what it was like. What are those footprints? Hmm. It's a good question. It's a really good question. Hmm. What are the footprints? I can only think of like photographs, but like that seems like I'm cheating because it's not a footprint. Like it's I guess it's a footprint. Okay, I'll say photographs of when I was a kid to see like this is cool like like growing up in a church family we often have like a directory and every so often they're like hey you got to get your pictures updated and you take another picture and then kind of like replaces on the backboard of like the Spear family. But at our church, what they would do is they would just like, you have an existing photo and then you take a new one and it would just go on top of that one. And one time when I was older, I realized I was looking at a picture. I was like, wait, hold on. There's like
Oh,
8 photos behind here.
beautiful.
I'm like, what in the world? And then you look at them and you're like, oh, okay, I do remember I wore a bow tie when I was 14. I remember that. Okay. And then like, oh, I kind of remember dad, having a goatee, but not really. And then you get one more picture behind, and you're like, whoa, who are those people? Right? Like who are and like that's mom and dad. Like they were young ones too. They had a young family that obviously I knew that they were once young. I was once younger. But then you see it. You see it in that really like similar family photo throughout the years. You're like, whoa, that's what it looked like. I don't remember it, but there's the footprint.
Awesome. When in your life did you hear your heart beat?
Did I hear it beat? When did I hear my heart? I don't know if I've ever heard my heartbeat. Am I supposed to? When have you
What?
heard your heartbeat?
Oh, many times. Like you sometimes fear, sometimes in moments of connection to someone else, I can feel the heartbeat. Um,
Okay.
And it could be a metaphor
Feeling it, I get,
too.
yeah.
It could be a metaphor where it's just like maybe it's not actually feeling the heartbeat, but maybe it's like when the heart was so overflowing.
Okay, okay. When you say feel, that makes a lot more sense to me. And like as I'm thinking about feeling it, I can understand how someone would describe that as hearing it. But yeah, you feel it throughout. When the time you felt, heard, yeah, yeah. When you heard your heartbeat. Okay, I understand. Hmm. I'm trying to think of like which road to take it, like happy, scared,
Right? It could
sad.
go this way, this way, this way. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be really different. Oh, oh, fine. I'll go the sad way. When I was getting an MRI one time, it was an MRI right before my second brain surgery. And what they were doing was a brain map to like pretty much, have for the surgeon, like, this is Will's brain. And in the MRI, I was face down and I just didn't like that, just as a like claustrophobia thing. And like when you get in like silly moments, like you feel stuck or claustrophobic, and you can kind of like think like, okay, calm down, it's gonna be okay. Start thinking rationally. Okay, I'll get through the thing. The MRI will be over, and I'll be fine. But as I started trying to think logically, what the next thing after the MRI was brain surgery, and that terrified me. And they said, hey, like you need to hold still. Like you're breathing so heavily right now, you're not holding still. We can't get this picture. That doctor man needs, to do the brain surgeries. So now my fear was prohibiting the doctor from getting this essential tool that he needed. And that resulted in this face down experience in this MRI where it felt like my heartbeat was like lifting me up, because it was
Yes,
going
exactly.
crazy. It was going crazy. And as you try to logically think your way out of being scared, in this case, it made me more scared. And then I just became so aware of how close in everything felt and how crazy that heartbeat was going, to where they ended up saying like, we'll do it without the brain map. You'll just it'll be okay. You're not holding still enough. And that was a really scary moment for me. But the heart was going so crazy I couldn't even hold still. And I
Wow.
felt
When have you waited erroneously?
that. When have I waited erroneously? Nice. Nice. What did I wait all that time for? I'll keep this one simple. I just think about like um at Disneyland, like just waiting too long for a ride. I'm trying to think of a good example. But there's sometimes we're like, look at this line over here. This must be awesome. And then you do it and you're like, that wasn't that good. That wasn't that good. But like this like huge crowd made it seem like it was gonna be good. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say the Peter Pan ride at Disneyland because it takes forever and it's literally such a lame ride. But whenever I waited in it, it was always with mom because she loved that ride. So
Oh wow.
maybe it wasn't erroneous, but at the end, you're like, what in the world? What did I wait all the time for? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mixed feeling, right? Like
Yes. Yes. All right. Mom's happy. Okay.
that's funny. When are you on emotional alert?
That's a good one. I'm on emotional alert when usually, almost every time I step foot into the church building for a church service. A lot of times, it's just a very regular day. People go to church, they worship, they talk to each other, it's fine. However, at church services, you never know when some really big emotional thing is going to happen. Someone is going to come forward, someone is going to seek out mentorship or help or confession or whatever thing someone needs. And it usually kind of comes out of nowhere. And you need to be alert for those things. And so I can feel my like emotional senses heightened, kind of looking for it, right? Kind of looking for it so that it can be welcomed, so that it can be met with the similar urgency that person has. A lot of times it's kind of needless. It's like, okay, it was fine. Nothing really happened. But then when it does happen, you're really glad that you were emotionally alert because here comes this person coming forward. They want to tell you something. We got to match this very serious thing. and handle it respectfully and helpfully. And you can't do that if you're not emotionally alert. Even when there's not going to be something, you still got to be ready. Emotionally alert. I like that phrase.
Great. What sound awakens your soul? What thought jolts you to action?
What sound
Awakens your
jolt
soul. Yeah.
awakens your soul? What thought jolts you into action?
Yeah.
Okay, sound the sound I'll just say the default Apple alarm. Like that thing would just wake me up in an instant. I hate it. And I did it the other day where I accidentally like set an alarm for 7:15 p.m.
Yeah.
and then like just like at dinner, I'm just having a good time and all of a sudden that default alarm goes off and like ruined my night. Like, I'm off. I hate that. Uh, Whoever designed that, he did a great job. That'll wake people up. That'll awaken the soul. A thought that jolts me into action. I, Speaking broadly, a thought that jolts me into action is time. Like how finite time is really terrifying. And it's easy to just have this goal of like making it through the day and have your dinner at night and watch your show and you're like, that was a good day. And then you go back to bed. And then you think about, whoa, time is moving and you're not getting it back. What are you going to do? That'll make you jolt into action, just like that Apple alarm. You're like, whoa, I got to do something. It's moving. It's not coming back to me. What am I going to do with that time?
That's it. When do your unconscious intentions take over your conscious intentions?
Oh, nice. Okay. I'm getting on a roll here. An unconscious intention that takes over a conscious intention is people pleasing, where I will go into a meeting or a study with an objective fact of like, this is the case. No matter what happens, don't agree to this. You know that. And I'm like, yeah, I know that'll be fine. And then you get to the thing, and this person comes and like, hey, you agree with this, right? And my people pleasing is like, yeah, totally. And that was unconscious, right? I consciously said, do not agree to that. But unconsciously, my body says, I'm a people pleaser. We're not about to say no to someone. We're not about to disagree, at the Starbucks. And then unconsciously, I do this thing that I consciously said I would not.
What would one day completely unrepressed look like to you?
One day completely unrepressed.
Or some people like to think one day completely free. I'm not sure about the wording yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, because it's all good questions, but depending on that last word is what's going to send people to certain thoughts. So what thought
Yeah.
do you want to send them to?
I want to say it's unrepressed.
And stay with unrepressed.
Yeah. I
Unrepressed.
got an earful the other night that I needed to switch it from a good friend of mine to freedom. So that's where I'm now doubting it.
Interesting. I'm trying to think about the two places my mind goes. Right now, it's still thinking. Stay completely unrepressed. When I think about unrepressed, I think just like I get to just have my will, right? Like whatever I want, like that's what's gonna happen. And even just a day of that, I just have people that I love all over the country, all over the country, and that's awesome because people are doing their thing in their respective places. But it's very repressing, where it's like, hey, I'm stuck out here, and I'm stuck out here, and I work, and I this, and I that, and we're stuck, and that feels very limited, very uh, not freeing. So with freedom, with being unrepressed, what I would do is I would bring all those people together that hardly ever get to see each other, at least not all in one place, uh, and just be together. Somewhere cool, I'm sure, if I was completely unrepressed. But what matters to me is just the being together. That's so hard to accomplish with people all over the place. It really stinks. So unrepressed, bring them together, go somewhere cool, and just have that family.
We're at 1 hour. How much time do you have?
Give me, wow, that was a quick hour. Um, Give me 50 more minutes.
Great. What prevents you from being fully present, loving, and caring?
Selfishness. Selfishness is gonna take away being present because this person's telling me something important, but like I kind of want to know what's going on over here on my phone. You can, if you were just completely unselfish, then you could fully care for someone else and just completely set your own needs aside. But my own selfishness is like, I don't really want to do that right now, or I'd kind of rather them do that for me. And now selfishness is taken first seat to care and love. So most things are going to come back to that same starting point of selfishness.
Next one is 3 questions.
All
What
right.
beliefs, or 3 parts? What beliefs empower your life? Which beliefs are limiting? And what would you have to believe to achieve something that you still want to achieve that you haven't yet?
Oh man. All right. Give me the first one again.
Yeah. What beliefs empower your life?
What beliefs empower my life? Well, I'll just stick on theme with where we started. I believe, that Jesus is God, came to earth, died, and rose again. That is everything, right? It's the single most important part of history. And because of that, we have fellowship with fellow believers. We have a purpose of teaching the gospel to other people, and we have a hope of heaven. And that is just the entire empowerment, the entire fuel for my life is that fact. And the Bible is big about that. Like, hey, if this one thing didn't happen, then what's the point of all this, right? So that belief that I have very strongly empowers everything that I do. Everything that I do. Give me the second one.
What belief is limiting?
It's limiting. What belief is limiting? Oh man, that's hard. That's hard. What belief is limiting? I'd say a belief that is limiting would be, I guess, a lack of belief in myself, or believing that I am not as capable as I should think that I am. And that'll sometimes I'll overcome that and end up surprising myself. But other times, just that belief of like, you're not good enough. That's going to keep you from trying anything. And that is so limiting. If you believe that, hey, you're not good enough to try, then who knows where your life could have gone. And I don't know, because there's so many times where I told myself that I believed it and it limited me. I didn't even know what could have happened. The few times that I overcome that belief, I find myself in awesome places. So I'd have to believe that the times that I have listened to that, hey, you're not good enough, it severely limited me. Okay, give me the third one.
Yeah, I'm going to change it slightly for you. Is
Okay.
there something that you haven't achieved that you wanted to achieve? Um, and in that, what would you have to believe in order to achieve that? Or is there a different belief you have to, because you're pretty strong on your beliefs, is there any different belief that you would have to take on in order to achieve what you still haven't yet achieved that you want to achieve?
Okay.
Yours is, you have an elongated version of the question.
Okay. Man, I'm just not sure. What would I have to believe to accomplish that? Hmm. It's hard. How do you come up with all these questions, man? You just got one after the other. Okay, I'll just start and I'll find something I have to believe. Something I want to achieve but have not yet. Um, I would like to achieve, if I can call it this, independence. Where right now my life is awesome, but there's still a lot of dependence on good things, where that's an awesome support system that I have with my family, my church family, people that want to help me. But I want to get on the other side of that and accomplish people depending on me. And I think that's just something that comes with time. Some people are forced into that younger than others. I've been blessed to be dependent longer than some. And I think that's a blessing and something not to turn down. But I would like to achieve independence on my own, where someone sees me as someone to depend on, whatever that looks like, instead of being dependent on other people. And I think that's a slow change that's slowly happening. But I'd really like to be completely independent on my own and be that for someone else. And then to do that, I think I'd have to I'd have to believe in myself and take that path of harder resistance. Right now, this path of least resistance is going to keep you depending on something, which is fine for a time, but eventually you're going to have to believe in yourself. Take this leap to this path of more resistance, and now believe in yourself and do it. And it's hard, but I believe in myself and I can do it. And because of that, people are going to be able to now depend on me.
Yeah. What are you unlearning?
Oh, am I unlearning? Unlearning. I'm unlearning, self-loathing. I think there is a false sense of humility in self-loathing and putting myself down. And when there's things to be self-conscious about, when there are shortcomings, you can just take that out on yourself. And being a Christian and wanting to be kind to everyone else, because I think that's so important, I found myself being least kind to myself because there was no one else. Okay, I have to be nice to them. Okay, now it's just me, and I hate me. I can be mean to me. Is awful and terrible, and I think something that a lot of people fall short on, even Christians, because we're so emphasizing being good to other people. And so now I've ended up having to unlearn these habits that are contagious and hard to break. If you've done them in these big moments where you let yourself down, then you're going to fall victim to that again. And having to unlearn that, not just for myself, but for my wife and for people who are going to depend on me. It's hard to depend on someone who has those tendencies. And so I'm slowly unlearning those.
Beautiful. This is sort of related. When do your thoughts guide you in the wrong direction?
It is related. One of my thoughts guide me in the wrong direction. Um, I'll say, oh man, I'll take it a different direction and say greed, because there's a part of me that's just really disciplined and really frugal, and then all of a sudden, to my surprise, like my heart will lead me in this place of like, whoa, wouldn't it be cool if like you won the lottery? And now it's like frugal, low salary Will, who loves his life and is so proven to be content, proven to have more than I need, to be happy and to accomplish the things that I want, now hears about some cool, lottery or win $5.6 million, and I think, oh, I want that. And then I'm like, wait a second, you just abandoned this whole thing that was perfect for you. You were perfectly content, had everything you've ever prayed for and wanted. And now that this exists, just the thought of it, now this feels so lacking. And you've got to have this moment of like, hey, my thoughts and my heart is just deceiving me out of what I have. That's awesome. And plenty of people have done that, for greed and lust and all sorts of fleeting things, giving up a perfect life for a moment, of fleeting, sin. Usually, I can feel myself drawn in that direction, which is terrifying. It's like, whoa, I caught myself. Let's not ever go that far again.
Yeah. What are you unconsciously attracted to because you are not clear about what you really want?
Oh. Okay, and now I'll keep it the same. I think I can be unconsciously attracted to money because I'm not clear on what I want. And I have a life that I want, that I like, and then I hear about this other opportunity for someone who's making more money or filling this easy gig that gets them a lot of money. And I'm thinking like, oh, well, I'd way rather have that. And then I'm like, hey, I need to be clearer about what I want because what I want, and then I start listing all these things that I have. I'm like, that's what I want. But the excitement and the appeal of money and fame and ease and comfort and pleasure, it's like, oh, wait, that sounds better. Like, wait, no, it's not. You have what you want. You want those things for a reason because mm, money is not going to get you these, intangible things. But the appeal of money and the lie that is often told that it's just going to fix everything is so untrue. And I can feel that appeal unconsciously because I'm not clear about the things that I want. I need to remind myself, hey, be clear. You have what you want. You have what you want.
Yeah. What life lesson has yet to be learned?
Oh, that's tough. What life lesson? Man. I'll go back to worry. I've yet to learn. Don't worry. I feel myself growing in it, but I'm gonna learn it more deeper. I'm sure. Hopefully, in not too hard of a way, but in a way that gets the message across. And hopefully, I can share that life lesson, whatever managed to get me over that hump, and I can teach it to other people too. Don't worry.
And the last question of session one, because I want more sessions.
Okay, session one.
Session one. What community wants you to shine?
What community wants me to shine? Okay, awesome. What community wants me to shine? I feel so supported in my church family. So I'm a part of a church family at the Brandon Church of Christ, who I've been a member with for a couple of years. And as I wanted to pursue evangelism and ministry with more of my time, they supported me monetarily to be able to dive into that, which is a huge commitment on their part to say like, hey, we want Will to shine so much that like we're gonna portion some of our money that's God's money and say, hey, Will, we want you to do this thing, and they want me to shine, right? And it's not for Will, it's for what I can do for the kingdom, for other people, growing other churches, bringing people to Christ, and knowing that they want me to shine takes away this like looming threat of like, hey man, you you need to make our money worth it. You have to make this investment turn into a bunch of growth. Instead, it's way more on the positive side of we want you to shine. And this is what it takes to shine. And we believe in you. We know that you can do it. Go do it. We want you to shine. And I hope that'll happen. But no matter what, I feel that support from my church family.
And then in summary, what was it like answering these questions?
Really fun. I love questions, and I love being forced to look deeper. It's easy to never have to look deep. We can talk about the game, the weather, and work, and then your day's just kind of over, and you don't have to talk about it anymore. You just talk about the next day. To be forced to look deep inside yourself and find, hey, like what made me me? What big things happened? What things did I not like? Did I like? And you have to ask questions to get there. You're not going to get there by not having an intentional effort. It has to be intentional if you want to learn more about other people, especially if you want to learn about yourself. So I just kind of felt like I got to do a job interview without anything on the line. It was just fun and it flew by. So thank you. It was great.
Thank you so much. Your answers are beautiful.